Hello, my name is Pilaf, and I know you guys probably have friends over right now that you're supposed to be entertaining, but that's okay. I can entertain them for 5 minutes instead of you being responsible. And today, I would like to nanalyze what's called modular scenes. Now, I know that normally when you nanalyze something, you just want to tell people how it is, and then you say, I'm looking forward to the next thing to happen, whatever that is. But Season 6 has been so weird. I just feel like we ought to actually talk about mechanical stuff, like writing. And how, in my opinion, and I'm going to explain why, that one where Pinky gives Maud a gift is like the worst written episode in the entire show. Now, I know what you're saying now. You're saying, Pilaf, and that's because you're so livid with me now that you can't form sentences. But now listen now. When I say the worst written episode, I don't mean like the worst episode. You may even like this episode. I just mean it was the worst written. Like, writing-wise is terrible. And here's why. As a synopsis of the entire episode, basically, Ponko and the potato are exchanging gifts, and the potato buys Ponko a watch chain, and then Ponko goes, oh no, I traded away my watch to buy you this gift card to a bookstore that you like. And so the potato goes to the vendor that sold Ponko the gift card, and then returns it to get the watch back. And that's it. It's over. Like, that's pretty much the entire conflict and everything all wrapped up in 3 minutes. No, really, like, it's like 3 or 4 minutes an episode. Like, that's it. That's the whole thing. So, what is the rest of this episode, and why did we have it? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's what is called modular scenes. Now, every time you write something, you know that it's got to fit inside a certain time slot. So what you'll do is you'll write out your episode, and you might want to be like a little bit under your target time. It's difficult to determine how much time a script is actually going to run for until you do your voice acting and everything's all storyboarded out and all that stuff. So you have what are called modular scenes, which are scenes that you can keep or remove depending on whether or not you have time for them. So you write a little bit over using these modular scenes. The thing about the one where Ponko gives the potato a gift is that it is basically all modular scenes until the last 3 minutes when the conflict is established and then resolved. Now, what's amazing is not that they did that, because you can do it. If you look back into Season 1, all the way back in Season 1, you find Feeling Pinky Keen is essentially that same thing. But here's what they did. At the start of Pinky Keen, they established that Twilight does not believe in Ponko's magical power. And then at the end of the episode, they established that Twilight now believes in Ponko's magical power. So they put your conflict up front and say, all right, here's what we're working with. And then they have the resolution at the end. And all the modular scenes in between, you know, it's all stuff like anvils falling on Twilight Sparkle. And you could cut that, but it's kind of related to the conflict. You know, they're all modular. Everything in between is modular, but it's all related. But then in the Season 6 potato episode, for contrast, they really don't establish their conflict until the end. I mean, the first conflict they sort of say is like, well, I don't know, I think the stores might be closed, but I'm gonna go ahead to check out. But then Ponko finds out that, well, the stores aren't really closed. I mean, here's a guy who's willing to sell. And there's also, like, Rarity is there. And I guess she's looking for a place to set up a boutique, but that's not important. There's also kind of a conflict of, like, I don't know what the potato wants. But really, they kind of do know what the potato wants. It's just, like, that wasn't really a conflict either. So really, it's just a string of, like, modular scenes that aren't really connected to any sort of backbone. Like, had they started off and Ponko had sold away her watch and everyone was like, why are you sad, Ponko? And then the whole episode revolved around getting Ponko to admit why she was sad. Well, I mean, you could have had as many modular scenes between the start and the end as you wanted, so long as it was all kind of related to that core conflict. But they didn't. And I mean, that's just one idea. You could have salvaged the writing on this episode in so many different ways. It really doesn't matter how you did it, but they didn't do it. And I don't know why they didn't, because it shouldn't really be very hard. This is like basics. And the conflict of the episode, that was an Aesop story. That is a story that is so old. Every one of you watching this right now, you were born like generations after that story was made. So it's really hard to say, you know, you look at this thing and it's always a big project with a lot of different people. Like maybe the writers got in fights with each other, or maybe there was like a cricket lost in the studio and they spent all day trying to find it and they just didn't have time anymore. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I guess like a trip in cricket in the studio would have been really distracting, and so you would have to do something about it. But this is like a $250,000 project, just for reference on how much each of these episodes cost. So, you know, I just feel like whatever explanation they would have, it's gotta be interesting. Anyway, it's not the only problem they had with this episode. Like, I got my theories, but they're just theories. There's other mechanical things we can talk about, though, but that'll be for another episode. So for now, there you go. Now you know. Watch my show, you're free to go. So today's episode was animated by Norman Rangel, Copypastas, and Mecha Nova King. You can go check out Copypastas on her blog on Tumblr. It's copypastas.tumblr.com. Also, please support us on Patreon. Anyway, now it's time for fan art. So here's one of those hand turkeys. I remember these when I was in school, but mine was just a circle though. Here's some guy in a tie. Don't know who this could be. He's got those tired eyes though. Here's one of somebody asking me to drink water. I guess so I don't get hungover. Hello. Yeah, if only we knew someone who could build like a bag or something. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, this is pretty much my life in a nutshell. Everything's fine, things are fine. I see this tie guy is gonna be like a theme. Do I have a mustache in this one? This is me just waving at someone on the other side of the screen. Hello there, faithful viewer, how you doing? Oh, well, okay, I could just imagine that there was a cool flamethrower here. Man, that's kick-ass. Here I am, dressing up like a hipster, thinking deep, personal thoughts you ain't never heard of. Well, I got a banana on my head. The rice-a-roni makes sense, though. That is a cheap, affordable meal that I have tangled with in the past. Porloff, destroyer of worlds! Well, okay, that's all the fan arts. I don't know if that was less than usual, but I know I sure surprised some of you guys with this when it came out all at once. Heck, I was surprised by it. I was just like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if I had this peel-off done? And then the other guys I work with, they were like, yeah. And then that pretty much happened. I was just like, whoa. So another big thanks to those guys. They did real good, and I'm real happy. So anyway, that's all I got. I guess you guys can go now, I suppose. See you around.